What's going on, everybody? It is that time again. The Sooners Illustrated Podcast, episode 246 on this Thursday, February 5th, 2026. Josh Callaway, Collin Kennedy with you on a Thursday. The latest on Oklahoma search for a new cornerbacks coach, Jay Valai, out off to the NFL. How are things progressing as Oklahoma looks to replace him? We got the right guy to talk to about it here with our great Collin Kennedy. We'll get into that. And they got a bunch of recruiting stuff. Oklahoma have been very active. They had a late addition at the buzzer of 2026 on signing day yesterday. They also made a big splash very early in 2028. We'll talk about both of those. And it's one of our favorite shows of the year, our Signing Class Superlatives. National Signing Day was yesterday. Let's wrap it up. Let's put a final bow on 2026 with our superlatives. We do this every year. It's been very well received in the past, and we're going to do it again here on the show today to kind of put our finishing touches on the 2026 class. About a month or so before a lot of these guys will be practicing at Oklahoma. They're pretty much all there now doing winter workouts, and spring ball obviously just around the corner. So a packed Thursday show. A reminder before we get started, you can subscribe. Sooners Illustrated, Oklahoma.247sports.com. Use the promo code SoonersPod60, all one word. Gets you 60% off a VIP membership for a year to Sooners Illustrated and the entire 24/7 Sports Network. Tons of recruiting content. Collin's been all over the winter workout stuff. He's been all over the Jay Valai search. We've had VIP softball content. I've been starting to trickle out some baseball stuff. So great time. Jump in, subscribe, be with us every step of the way over at Sooners Illustrated. All right, CK.
Sir.
Hand up. I've been battling a bit of a cold, so I'm going to try my best to not cough into the mic. I'm going to try and make sure I mute myself as best I can, but I'm feeling okay enough. We're going to power through. Colin's going to carry the show today. And one of our favorite shows. We love doing the Signing Class Superlatives. Always a fun way to kind of sift our way through it a little bit. And we'll do that in just a minute, but looking forward to it. Always a fun show every year.
The superlatives draft. That's my other favorite layer.
Yeah, no duplicates.
The listeners and the viewers enjoy that layer as well, as we not only label the superlatives, but we go through the signing class and we draft them for these individual titles. And I don't know who Josh is going to pick.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know who I'm going to pick.
Yeah.
We will react in real time to each other while filling out the content. It's always one of my favorite shows of the year. And then, oh, by the way, we got a lot to talk about. For around this time of year, a little surprised this much to discuss. Today's going to be a fun show. Josh may be sick, but I think he's going to bring the juice by the end of it, considering what our topics are today.
We're pushing through. And it's been kind of surprisingly busy the last few weeks on the football kind of news front. Sometimes this time of year, during winter workouts, we're kind of just waiting for spring ball, but there's kind of actually been a lot to talk about the last few weeks. The biggest news of this week, obviously, is Jay Valai, who jumps over to the NFL with the Buffalo Bills. Tom and I talked about it on Monday, kind of some initial reaction on Jay. Moving on, obviously, a great opportunity for him. We mentioned it then, but I mean, for Brent Venables, he's had kind of that core four with Miguel Chavis, Todd Bates, and Brandon Hall together this entire time. There's been a lot of turnover on the offensive staff. Obviously a few different OCs and just kind of swapping guys in and out a little bit here and there. But these defensive position coaches have all been the same the entire time. So this is not something that Brent has had to do since he's been at Oklahoma. Jay Valai moves on. Collin, I guess for you, and you can get some specific names if you'd like. Obviously, we've had our hot board over on Sooners Illustrated, also available for VIP members. But just in your mind, as this has kind of happened and it's been a few days, where do you think kind of stand for Oklahoma, both in terms of what you think they're looking for, a timeline, if you have any idea on that? I would think pretty soon. I don't think this is going to take super long, but just where do things kind of stand for you on Oklahoma trying to find a way to replace Jay Valai? Not horrible timing, but not the best either. It is February. I mean, you're a month and a half away from spring ball, so you want to get this done sooner rather than later. How do things kind of stack up for Oklahoma right now as they try to fill in a coach who's been pretty good for them, obviously, the last 4 years?
Yeah, first and foremost, I haven't gotten to say it here on the show yet, but incredibly happy for Jay Valai.
Yeah, really
I also want to give a ton of credit to Oklahoma fans that might be listening or watching to this too. You guys deserve a round of applause for just kind of the way that Valai and his family have been treated since announcing their exit from Norman. I can tell that meant a lot to him. It's been really cool to just see the consensus opinion from the fan base be extremely happy for that guy.
Yeah.
And Valai deserves it. Personally, I am very excited for Jay. One of my first few months back on the beat when I moved back from Nashville, Tennessee. I went to a coaching clinic and Jay was presenting there, and we got to chop it up a little bit, talk about defensive back play, talk about the program, and then I got to watch him actually give his presentation and talk about defensive back play at Oklahoma. And the guy is just such a genuine, smart, knowledgeable individual who has a passion for DB play. And I think it's not only cool that he gets to escape the craziness that is college football and reach the NFL realm, which has always kind of been a personal goal of his. He gets to do so with Jim Leonhard. So that's my long-winded way of saying congrats to Jay and congrats also to Oklahoma's fan base for just the way that this whole thing has been treated, and through that, let's talk a little bit about the vacancy. As you know, I published a little notebook this morning just about some things that I'm hearing, some things that I think are worth considering. And I should also mention this too. I'll talk a little bit here in a second about what I believe the internal or external impact to be for Valai's exit recruiting team-wise. But just wanted to kick it to you with some of the stuff that I talked about this morning in the notebook. And I'm not going to go through it all. So again, subscribe to Sooners Illustrated. But number one, first and foremost, I think we have to acknowledge that Jay isn't just leaving the cornerbacks coach vacancy. Theoretically, this is someone who held the titles of co-defensive coordinator, assistant head coach of defense, passing game coordinator, Nichols coach as well. The guy held multiple titles, and you and Tom talked about it. In the grand scheme of things, do all those titles mean a whole lot? Probably not, but it's a fancy way of getting guys raises and giving them the opportunity for more responsibility, which Jay held a lot. However, I think when you factor in not only the corners coach position, but all those other titles, theoretically, those are other labels that Oklahoma would be able to potentially offer to a candidate that it wants to pursue. And I felt that to be important because what I think Oklahoma is going to be looking for is someone that Brent Venables trusts. I think that that's kind of been the theme of the hires that he has made to this point, whether he knows these individuals or not. Every hire to this point on the defensive side has been someone who he would entrust to handle a position group entirely. I think that that's incredibly important, especially at a time where Venables is calling the defense. And so I lean towards a more experienced corners coach, or at least somebody who played the position at a high level, and someone who has an understanding and a knowledge of the system, I believe to be incredibly important. And so I factor all those titles in, and I talk about all of this because I think Oklahoma is going to be able to put together a pretty enticing compensation package, a pretty solid overall labeling of the position, which should give them the opportunity to make a pretty strong hire. Through that, though, I wonder, as far as timeline, I think it's going to be soon. I think this is going to go into next week. Now, again, we're recording at 11:30 on Thursday. So by the time this is recorded, who knows what happens, right? But I think you could see this thing go about a week and a half. I don't know that Oklahoma needs to rush, considering the timing of this is pretty great, all things considered, where you're at in the calendar. I think Oklahoma, with everything it has to offer and how important it is to get this hire right, can take a little bit of time here. Not saying it's going to take forever, but when you consider the complete compensation package, I think Oklahoma is going to be in the market for someone that really fits what Venables wants, a guy that he can trust and continue to maintain that overall level of trust he has on that side of the ball.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a good point that you make that, you're past the portal. Obviously, just had signing day. Spring ball is still a month and a half away. So, I mean, other than just general recruiting obligations, you really don't, you're not in too much of a massive rush to fill this in. That's a good point. And so we'll see. Like you said, probably sooner rather than later. I don't think this is something that we're going to get to March and be like, whoa, they still don't have a cornerback coach. But, you're not pressed up against it either to quite an extreme degree that sometimes you are whenever the season ends and it's like, well, the portal's about to open. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of that pressure sometimes. You don't really have that here. So it's very interesting. We talked about on Monday, Tom and I mean, obviously on staff and Xavier Brewer is very obvious. Don Franks up at Tulsa is a former player, is very obvious. There's a couple other former OU players who are kind of natural fits from the Brent Venables era, if you will, that you've communicated to our VIP members. It's going to be interesting to see what direction they go with it because, like you said, someone that he trusts, the last few hires have not necessarily been OU guys, quote unquote, like a Jason Witten or even a Nate Dreiling or certainly a Ben Arbuckle. Like, I feel like Brent's kind of got put in this box a little bit because of the Seth Luttrell hire, I guess, and maybe bringing Kevin Wilson back. There's been like not everybody needs to be an OU guy. And it's like, well, he hasn't really done that, really. I mean, most of the recent hires have not been anyone that's, had very obvious OU ties. But like you said, this is a little different because this is an actual defensive position coach, which we haven't seen him have to really do so far. I mean, I guess Nate Dreiling, you could kind of argue, but even then, like, Brent with linebackers, and he'd had Wes Goodwin coming in as well. It's like, it's just kind of, so we'll see. I'm very interested to see what direction they go with it because it's just not something we've really seen Brent Venables have to do since he's been here. He's been back as head coach.
So I think all of what we've mentioned is important because you guys mentioned a couple of those candidates. I think the other one, and this guy even got brought up in the YouTube comment section from the last podcast, it's Mike Reed at Clemson. That's going to be the guy that garners a ton of buzz in the public sphere. This morning in the little notebook that I put together of things to consider, I talked about Mike Reed, and I talked about how essentially all the stuff that I just talked about with like the titles and the compensation package, I feel that to be important because if Oklahoma's going to get all of that stuff to be approved and give it a better shot of gaining a strong salary pool, the research that I have done reportedly, according to other accounts, Mike Reed is making about $950,000.
Yeah, big number. I was surprised by that number. That's a big number.
I was surprised too, and I felt it really important to share that with our subscribers because, and the folks who are watching and listening, because you don't just come up with $950,000 out of the blue. Especially, I mean, Jay Valai, as we know, just got approved for a raise to $785,000.
Yeah.
And so, if you're talking about like, what does this hire look like? What does the potential offer look like? If Oklahoma's going to go after a guy that everyone's discussing in Mike Reed, they may have to reach that $1 million mark. Now, you can make a debate that, with Clemson kind of being on a little bit shakier ground and Mike Reed knowing so many folks at Oklahoma, maybe that makes it a little bit easier, but there are only 3 assistant coaches, position coaches, making $1 million plus at OU right now. That's Todd Bates, who knows Mike Reed, Miguel Chavis, who knows Mike Reed, and then Bill Bedenbaugh, who's one of the longest tenured coaches on staff. And so I think we're talking a lot about who's going to occupy the position, but how they're going to go about filling it, I find it very interesting, especially when you start to dig into like, what is the structure for some of these candidates elsewhere and how might that impact Oklahoma?
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. It's a just intriguing hire for Oklahoma to make and for Brent Venables to make. And obviously Jay's done a good job. And, we talked about that on Monday with Tom, like the way they've recruited the position and these young guys, Cortland Guillory last year, Eli Bowen. I mean, these guys have come in and made immediate impacts as freshmen in both cases and have potentially be All-American type of players. And so we'll see what they do. And we're all over it. Collin's doing a great job. As soon as Illustrated, be sure to subscribe, be with it every step of the way. I mentioned on Monday, I want to make sure I follow through on it. I wanted to ask you about the recruiting aspect of it because, like I said, they've recruited the position really well. We've talked about it on the show, here and there over the last several months that 2027 cornerback is loaded. It's the position that is going to be kind of the center, the heart of this 27 class, which is already also obviously a phenomenal start. And they have a couple of big time quarterbacks already in there, but there's still more hanging out there. What's your understanding of how this could impact that? That aspect of it, because again, that's a position that Oklahoma is looking like they're going to and already have and are going to continue to load up on in 27. And also Jay Valai, like you mentioned before, really personable guy, really fun guy to talk to. It's not hard to see why players would want to play for him. He's no longer here. What are the impacts that you can foresee that you've maybe already heard or can foresee for Oklahoma on the recruiting side with a different guy in there and Jay Valai no longer around?
pretty positive feedback. Almost, you can make an argument, pretty surprising considering where things are at. I think that whether you're talking about the commits or some of the targets, I think there's a lot of trust in Oklahoma to get this hire right. I think it helps that a guy like Xavier Brewer is still around.
Right.
And Xavier Brewer has been, as you mentioned on the Monday pod, out helping Brent Venables recruit these guys. And so you would think there's a familiar face still going to be in place helping to oversee that position. But like a Mikhail McCreary, who I interviewed in San Antonio in January, and I asked him, like, hey, when you're recruiting other players, what's your primary pitch to these prospects? And the first thing he said was Jay Valai, and how Jay is a teacher and is willing to go to battle for freshmen to play.
Yeah.
And obviously, when a guy like Valai leaves, you get worried about a Mikhail McCreary. But I think Mikhail's pretty locked in, all things considered. Mikhail Davis is one I'm going to be eyeing. I think he's pretty settled, but he's garnered a lot of interest recently. Michigan just offered. And then you talk about the targets, and that's where I think you really start to talk about the impact of this hire. Josh, I was thinking about it the other day and kind of laughing to myself. Among all of like the most singular important things to do on the checklist for this new hire, where does landing Gabe Osborne stack up?
Yeah.
I mean, whoever the new corners coach is in Norman, right up there on things to do, you better not miss on getting Gabe Osborne, right? And so I think that's where you go.
Yeah.
How much is whoever the new face is going to be able to establish himself with all of these different targets we've talked about in the past that Oklahoma's already in pretty good position for? And whether it's a Gabe Osborne who OU cannot afford to leave the state, or any number of other high four-star talents we've talked about here on the recruiting show, like it's a very interesting move when you talk about the stakes on the recruiting side of things.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. And we'll obviously keep you apprised over Sooners Illustrated. Be sure to subscribe, use that promo code, and we'll continue to update it. And I imagine that, depending on maybe when this pops, whenever it may be, we might have an instant reaction show together for the new cornerback coach. We'll see kind of when it lands and everything. But just an interesting spot, interesting hire, not something that you totally were expecting necessarily to have to deal with, but also kind of like I said on Monday, somewhat inevitable. Eventually these guys, when you're as good on defense and you have all these good coaches, eventually they're going to get other opportunities to do stuff. And we've talked about, Todd Bates being a hot name many times over the last couple of years. Brandon Hall has been floated as like a DC guy at some point. Like,
Chavis.
It's kind of crazy they've kept these guys around, frankly.
So many programs have wanted to try and hire Chavis over the last couple of years.
Right. Yeah. It's not hard to see why. It's a phenomenal job. He's young. He's got, energy. Players love him. So it's a great staff. And so the fact they had it for as long as they did is kind of, a testament to them and their belief in Brent to try and build this thing up. And now it's up for Brent and Jim Nagy and this program to, not miss a beat and find the next Jay Valai in that cornerback room. And so we'll stay on top of it. Be sure to subscribe, of course, over at Sooners Illustrated. Keep up with it every step of the way. Do want to keep it moving. Got some other stuff to get to, and then we'll do our signing day superlative. So yesterday was National Signing Day. Obviously, the December signing day is just totally taken over. That's when the vast majority of guys make their decisions or have already made their decision and obviously put ink to paper. So the February one is almost weird now because I honestly, like, it snuck up on me. I was like, oh, that's this week. Like it's just the way the calendar has shifted so much over. Oklahoma did actually get an old school, like, National Signing Day commitment yesterday morning, though. Jim Nagy teased it on Tuesday night. People got excited. And the answer to his tease was LeBron Bauer, a 2026 cornerback. So right on cue, they don't have a cornerbacks coach right now. They get a young man from obviously a program that's really, really good down in your neck of the woods there at Allen. What can you tell us, man, about LeBron Bauer? He is a 3-star prospect. He did have some fairly notable offers. How did this happen? And obviously, if you remember, and I'm sure you do, you might be about to bring it up, so sorry to steal your thunder if so, but Jim Nagy said at the signing day press conference, his only real regret was not getting enough corners. And here you go. He went and found himself another one to add in right at the buzzer here in 2026.
And I think that largely what fueled this pickup, right?
Sure.
Now, it also helps that he's childhood friends with Markel Ford, another 2026
That's right.
defensive back signee.
That's right.
It helps that LeBron Bauer can play multiple positions, can play in the third phase on special teams. He brings a lot to the table. But essentially, the long and short on LeBron Bauer is this is a guy in the DFW Metroplex who kind of burst onto the scene really early in his high school career. And then his recruitment kind of died off. Now, he had visited Oklahoma a couple of times over the years, but
Mhm.
OU wasn't necessarily all that involved up until recently when the February signing period started to creep up a little bit. And
Yeah.
once it started to make a lot of sense, like you mentioned, Oklahoma had in the back of its mind, hey, if there's a 2026 corner out there that makes a lot of sense for us, we'll explore that option. The LeBron Bauer is someone who, look, if you look at the measurables, you look at some of the data, is he going to jump off the page at you? No. 5'11 ish, 170
Sure.
ish pounds, doesn't have the blazing track times, doesn't have the rare build, but this is a guy who was named the Allen Eagles 2025 team MVP. I think
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
No, for
This is a
sure. For
guy
sure.
was named a all area team player by the Dallas Morning News. This is someone who the stat sheet pops, not just on defense, but on special teams. And I think this is someone who can play corner, nickel, safety, can give you a like serious impact on special teams, which we know the staff values. Now he's gonna have to make his impact from the prep level translate to the collegiate level. But on top of all of that, LeBron Bauer cares, right? Like he is someone who he was fighting tooth and nail to get an opportunity
Mhm.
somewhere down the stretch of the P4 level. And when Oklahoma and a few others came calling, this is someone who it means a lot to him. And at the
Yeah.
very least, you're going to get someone who is going to provide great practice looks, gives you someone that maybe over the next couple of years could give you a rotational body. And this is the last thing I'll say. I think we're learning how much do these Power Four programs value roster continuity, having a spot occupied for a couple of years. And it
Yeah.
turns out the answer is a whole lot,
Yeah.
right? And so you kind of talked about it. This for me reminded me of when I first started to get into the business or when I was keeping up with it as a fan of recruiting, that late old school signing day ad where a big name program brings on a player that they liked, maybe had on the board, but didn't know if it was going to work and took a flyer on somebody.
Mhm.
OU's taking a flyer on LeBron Bauer. I totally get it. And I think it's a pretty savvy move considering where Oklahoma is in terms of its roster construction.
Yeah, like you said, taking a flyer, it seems to be worth the gamble, if there even is one. I mean, it's probably not, a huge one. You're taking a guy from a good program, like you said, and obviously, I've never met LeBron. I didn't really know much about him until last couple of days, but certainly seems to not be lacking on the confidence angle, which is
Correct.
something you need at that position. It's always kind of like almost a joke in that, cornerbacks, the best ones are just irrationally confident. And I mean that in a good way. I mean, certainly look at like a Cortland Gillard right now, like not lacking for a self-belief. And
Mhm.
I feel like it seems like LeBron Bauer has that. You mentioned him and Markel Ford, great, childhood friends. He put on social media yesterday a picture with him and Markel and said, "Mark my words, Center family, you will see us on the field as true freshmen. We came from nothing. We're willing to sacrifice anything for this program." That's awesome. I mean, that
Yeah.
fires you up. Like that should be your goal, is to come in and, hey, I'm going to play right away. That should be the goal. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that should be the goal. And so, sounds like he's very motivated. Why not? Why not?
And I like to mention too, even if he doesn't play initially, I think this is someone who cares enough and is showing you how willing he is to stick it out and
Mhm.
compete and be part of practices and earn his way onto the field. And the other thing that I bring up too that I love to mention, always love to highlight guys that I meet out on the recruiting trail. LeBron is coached by Coach Flight Skills out here in Dallas, Fort Worth. I think a big reason why, on top of playing at a place like Allen, LeBron is so confident is because he's learned from Flight. And
Yeah.
by the way, if you don't know, Flight's one of the top defensive back trainers in America. He has 2 clients playing in the Super Bowl this weekend. Guys named Devin Witherspoon and Christian Gonzalez, if you've heard of them.
Not bad. Yeah.
I think those 2 guys are pretty good football players. And
Yeah.
Flight is like the go-to for a lot of NFL DBs. Flight worked with LeBron. And so LeBron has just this very rare understanding of the defensive back position for someone his age. And I think that's something that's going to fuel him and help him be a player that Oklahoma would love to have around for the next couple of years.
No doubt. It's going to be fun to see him get in. Do you know, is he able, it's just happened, is he able to enroll? Does he have to wait until the summer?
I think he's taken a little bit of time. I think he has to wait till the summer.
Probably.
So,
that's part of why guys sign in December is, obviously for that reason. So whenever he gets here, though, look forward to seeing him and learn more about him, obviously, down the road. So from 2026, backing up a couple of cycles to 2028, where you teased it a little bit on the Thursday show last week. Micah Rhodes, number 1 running back in 2028. He's a 4-star guy for us right now. Obviously, probably, or I shouldn't say probably, but a shot, I would think, to get to 5-star status by the time, he actually gets to Oklahoma. He committed to Oklahoma last Thursday night. He was on the nightcap with Shannon.
Did you watch? Did you end up watching?
I did not. I did see some clips, though, after the fact. I did not watch live, though. I'm not sure if I even know where to find it. Probably was it just on YouTube somewhere?
It's like 1.19 million subscribers. I was like, good.
Unreal.
Lord.
Well, good for Micah. That's cool. He committed to Oklahoma last week. DeMarco Murray continues to absolutely annihilate recruiting. That's never been a problem. He's always gotten high-end talent, and he does so again here with Micah Rhodes. Collin, obviously, it's 2028, so it's a little bit down the road. So it's always hard to get people too jazzed up, but he's the number 1 running back in the class. Like, he's obviously really, really talented from down in obviously the Lone Star State. What can you tell us about Micah, man? And just DeMarco Murray again. And this is something that we've seen him kind of consistently do, whether it's, going back to certainly Taylor Tatum and now Jonathan Hatton and Micah Rhodes. Like, high-end running back recruiting continues to not be a problem for Oklahoma, and they do so again here with Micah Rhodes in 2028.
The story that I like to tell about Micah is a couple of years ago, Cortland Guillory is playing at Klein Oak, and I had to go see Cortland, and I knew about Micah Rhodes, but he was a true freshman at the high school level at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He had about 14 offers already. It was way too early to be ranking him, but you knew Micah Rhodes was going to be a big-time player. And so I thought, you know what? Let's go see Court. I've been wanting to see Court. Let's go see this Micah Rhodes guy as well. He had the Oklahoma offer already because OU offered him in the 8th grade. So
it's crazy.
I had been aware of the player. I'm watching Cortland go through warmups, and then I go over to Micah, and I'm like, man, am I an idiot for watching a freshman play high school football? Like, am I being dumb for doing this? And I remember taking a video of Micah going through warm-ups pregame and just tweeting it out, being like, hey, meet a guy that's going to be one of the top running backs in the country. His name's Micah Rhodes. The DMs that I got from not just Power 4 coaches, but P4 coaches in the playoff being like, hey, man, tell me how Micah looks. We're very interested in the kid. That, for me, was when I went, oh, like, I'm glad I'm out here. You know what I mean? And Micah proceeded to dominate. He's been one of the more productive running backs in all of Texas high school football, which is saying something considering he just wrapped up his sophomore campaign.
Sure. So young. Yeah.
Micah's awesome. When you talk to this guy, you feel like you're talking to an NFL vet. I do not say that lightly. Incredibly mature player. Will talk to anyone and everyone. Has it like this innate understanding of how to go about business and then be successful on the field. And it's a big reason why he's the number 1 running back. It's a big reason why Oklahoma wanted him so badly and was willing to get this deal done this quickly. And I know it's 2028. I know it's a long ways away. This is a really special talent and a special young man, I'm telling you. And he's such a perfect fit for Oklahoma. It's one heck of a get, and I think Oklahoma's going to be fighting tooth and nail to keep this guy around.
Yeah, definitely a guy that we'll obviously talk about, I'm guessing, quite a bit over the next couple of years, assuming Oklahoma can hang on to him and get him ink to paper. It is funny because 2028 sounds like it's a long way away. It's only one cycle, obviously, behind. So it's not as far away maybe as it seems, but Yeah, fun get. I mean, fun get to go get number one. And then, yeah, very unique on the Shannon Sharp. I'd be curious to hear down the road how that came together a little
Yeah.
bit. Just how did this happen? But anyway, pretty cool get. DeMarco Murray, again, recruiting never been the issue at all there, and another big time get for DeMarco and for Oklahoma at the running back position. All right, should we do our sign day superlatives?
Let's do it.
Sign day yesterday, like I said, 2026 class is officially complete. This is why we wait. We almost did in December, but a few things. In December, we have the portal going, and obviously at that signing day, you still have the playoff coming up, and also the class is not complete a lot of times. There's still time to add, and so we wait, we hold it off, we push it to February, and now we can safely have this is the class, everyone is signed,
right?
We proceed. And so let's dive into it. Our signing class superlatives, just like it sounds, we hit a handful of categories here, kind of a way to kind of sift through and highlight a handful of guys. We've done this every year, and it's been, like I said, pretty well received in the past. The most obvious superlative, it's the first question you get every single time anyone wants to know anything. Who can help right away? Instant impact. Who can get on the field this year? Right? And there's a lot of guys. Obviously, Oklahoma is envisioning all of these guys to play for Oklahoma, right? I mean, that's why you sign them. They're all not going to pan out. That's just the way it works. But you're hoping for all of them. But who can help immediately this season, this fall, could help Oklahoma win football games right away as a true freshman? Collin, I'll let you start it. Go ahead. Instant impact in this 2026 class for you.
I think the obvious number one answer on the board is the one I'm going to go ahead and take. And this is someone that, if anyone has followed me for any number of years, I've been a fan of this recruit for, I can't even tell you how long. It's Jonathan Hatton Jr., four-star running back out of Cibolo Steel and the greater San Antonio area. Hat is just one of my favorites, man. There's not a whole lot that needs to be said. This is someone who's already around the 6'1", 220-pound range, probably going to be playing next year as a freshman at close to 230 pounds. Wouldn't surprise me. Rare build and speed and size and just the ability to get downhill. At the very least, you're talking about someone as a true freshman who could give you a short yardage back type of role. But I think it's also becoming very clear, especially as winter workouts have gotten underway, this is someone who's going to be tough to keep off the field.
Sure.
How advanced he is relative to his age. So the number one answer, going to go ahead and take it. It's Jay Hatt. Excited to see him in an OU uniform.
Yeah, the no doubt answer is Jonathan Hatton. I mean, he's a guy we've talked about for a while, and there's opportunity. I mean, that's the other part of the equation with this is that there's opportunity his position. They didn't go crazy in the portal. They brought in Lloyd Avant, who we talked about, but otherwise, it's kind of their actions in the portal were a clear belief in obviously Xavier Robinson and Troy Blaylock, but then also in these two guys they signed, in Jonathan Hatton and Zephan Walker. And like I said, early returns on winter workouts have been very positive for Jonathan Hatton. There's a ton of buzz already. So, yeah, no brainer. If you made me pick one, that's the obvious, and I agree completely. I'll switch it up, though, so we don't do duplicates for this. I think the other one that pretty clear to me has a shot would be sticking on offense, Jaden Petit, a guy we talk about a lot. When you talk about SEC bodies at wide receiver, this is what it looks like. 6'3", 6'4", well north of 200 pounds. I mean, he's a dude. He's a dude. And look, they went. Unlike running back, they did go hard in the portal at wide receiver with Parker Livingstone and obviously Terrell Harris. They got Isaiah Satania back. You have those year two guys, Elijah Thomas. It's not clear cut easy, but if anyone could do it of the wide receivers they signed, this wide receiver class is awesome. Obviously with Jesse Rogers and Okfuluweze, like we talk about this group being really, really good. He's the one that stands out. Is he's just going to have the body for it. If he can pick up the offense quick enough and all that, I definitely think there's a world where Jaden Petit could help Oklahoma right away this year. So after Hatton, I would say Jaden Petit is the one that stands out to me as if you saw him get involved and make some plays this fall, it would not shock me. Would not shock me.
Yeah, quick honorable mentions here for each of us on the back end. The guy that I kind of want to spotlight quickly here, I think similar to what you're talking about with Petit, Jasir Rogers, I would not be
Yeah,
overly
he'd be the
surprised.
next one at wide receiver for me. Yeah.
Compactly built, but a rare catch radius for his frame. And I think that, look, you don't earn the name Spider-Man if you're a scrub. So I
Mm.
think Jasir is someone who could subtly work his way onto the field, especially to a spot like receiver in a rotational role. Honorable mention for you before we move on.
Um, you know, for instant impact, it's tough because there's so many defensive guys I really like, but it's just, is there a path to actually playing, right away this year? Probably Jacob Curry, though. I mean, that's one that we've
Yeah.
thrown around just because his ability to probably play a little cheetah and
Yep.
obviously Kendall Daniels move out. They didn't add anyone obvious for that kind of role in the portal. So you wonder if there was going to be a freshman who could maybe help you in that specific area at the cheetah spot, it probably would be him. Like Hatton, early returns, very good in winter workouts.
Yes.
So maybe pick one. I'd maybe kind of lean for him a little bit. He could have a rotational role right away. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all. So,
Like you mentioned, already impressing in winter workouts. It's got to transition to when the pads go on, but I think Jacob Curry, certainly an argument. So, in the snake draft style, I am up next with the next pick. And our next topic here, under the radar guy
the radar
in this class. There are a number of different directions that you could go here, in my opinion. I'm gonna do this, and it's kind of an unfair answer, but I'll cover for it in the honorable mentions. I think Derek Johnson is one of the most under-discussed 4-star corners I have ever covered.
Yeah.
He was the only corner addition in this class. I feel like I asked somebody the other day, when's the last time you talked about Derek Johnson? Feels like everybody has just overlooked this guy for a while, but you're talking about a 6'1", 6'2" cornerback in top 247 territory with a track background, the son of a former NFL player and like a former all-conference player at Washington, A-plus character, a guy that just volunteered his commitment to us at the time and has flown under the radar because he's just low maintenance. And that's rare for corners, especially of his caliber. And I feel like even now, as we get into winter workouts, you're hearing about all these different freshmen besides the 4-star corner that they got. I'll talk about another under the radar guy, but I just really believe Derek Johnson has not been given his flowers relative to who the player could become somewhere down the road.
No, I agree. And we kind of halfway mentioned it when we did the Jay Valai conversation of Oklahoma's had cornerbacks come in and make an impact right away that we weren't necessarily talking about going in. I don't know if anyone was ready for the year that Cortland Guillory had. He was fantastic. And the year before, Eli Bowen, same thing. Why couldn't Derek Johnson do that? And then, again, we'll see how it shakes out with, guys are probably going to get hurt. Like, it's all about taking advantage of the opportunity when it happens. And I think Derek Johnson fits into that. It's a great call. Like you said, 4-star corner that doesn't really get talked about very much at all. I think for me, we're talking about under the radar. I think I'm going to go with Matthew Nelson, defensive end. For obvious reasons and for totally fair reasons. Jake Crail takes the headline when you're looking at defensive edge. He's, maybe the crown jewel of this class between him and obviously Bo Bentley. So when you're looking at immediate impact, like freshman defensive ends, immediately your eyes go to him. And that again, that's totally fair and for obvious reasons. But I'll tell you what, early returns that I've been told, this kid is really good. He's exciting. He's big. And it's just, Miguel Chavis has been picking dudes up. And there hasn't been a ton of immediate impact freshmen. And obviously this is not immediate impact, but under the radar. But I just feel like he's got a chance to be really good. And I like him and Norman both, but Norman not here early. So it's like probably going to take him a little more time. But Nelson, just under discussed again, because there's such a big headliner at his position. I feel like he's gone a little overlooked. Winter workouts, he's turned some heads. I'm kind of in on Matthew Nelson a little bit. I feel like he might be one of those sneaky guys that a couple years down the road, it's like, whoa, he's good. So I like Matthew Nelson for under the radar for me.
I like the pick. The quick honorable mention for me, I think that Markel Ford is someone who probably deserves.
I almost picked him. Yeah, he was like my next guy. Yeah.
So Markelle had to miss some of his senior season. There was some stuff going on there, but he got back onto the field and honestly had some of the best tape he put together in his entire prep career. This is someone who's been on Power 4 radars for years on end, but things kind of tapered off for him in his final year of prep ball. But at one point, this guy was like committed to Texas A&M and committed to SMU and had heard from programs all over the country. Things tapered off, and then he gets back onto the field as a senior for the first time in his prep career, is playing corner and moving really well and is adding an element to his game as a defensive back. And this has been one of those violent DBs that I have been covering down here in the Lone Star State over the last few years. I think Markelle Ford is another guy that quietly gets added, and now people are talking about him because LeBron Bauer's part of the class, but Markelle deserves some flowers in his own right. And any honorable mention for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, probably for a very similar reason of why I said Nelton, a little bit to Zephyr Walker, probably a little bit.
Yeah.
As far as, again, same thing, exact same reasoning. Jonathan Hatton taking all the headlines for obvious reasons. We talked about it. He probably could play right away. Zephyr Walker, man, there's some serious juice there. He's probably going to need a little more time. He's not like that immediate, at least doesn't seem on paper, right, like Hatton is. But there's room to be really good there for him. And again, he just doesn't get talked about at all because there's so much excitement about Hatton, which, again, fair. But don't forget about this other guy they signed who can play. So
they my next winter workouts notebook that you and I work together, Zephyr Walker is going to be in it. I have been told that there is an argument to make. He is exceeding expectations already in a winter workouts, exciting. Getting a lot of praise. Both of those freshman running backs are really impressing people in winter workouts, to back up your point.
It's exciting stuff. And there's, again, opportunity there for both guys to get in there and make an impact right away if they can earn it. We just saw Torrey Blaylock do it. I mean, like Xavier Robinson year before. Like it's there to be had if they can go get it. What about just a personal favorite? This is like just a guy that you just wanted to talk about, basically, and want the opportunity to talk about. My starter?
You have the T box, sir.
All right. There's two that jump out to me that I could go either way on. I guess I'll go with this guy just because it's a position we haven't talked about yet. Tyler Ruxer. We talked about Ruxer off and on. Just, anytime you come to me with a tight end that has like the track numbers that this guy has, and what I've been told from a speed perspective, like the guys that he's hanging with from that perspective is crazy for what his size is. I mean, when he signed, he's at 6'4", 225 when he signed. That's what OU had him listed at on the signing day. That's pre-winter workouts. That's pre-being OU nutrition. Like, he's going to get bigger. If he can maintain that athleticism. And look, obviously, we talked about it at length. Oklahoma has been dying for that next great tight end, and they hit the portal really hard this cycle, and we love what they did. But like Hansen and Beers, those guys are one and dones, right? They're not going to be here for a real long time. You're hoping that Tyler Ruxer can be that next guy that Oklahoma recruited out of high school that builds up and turns into, what we saw from a Mark Andrews and a Grant Calcaterra, and even to an extent a Braden Willis, like be one of those career OU guys who really plays at a very high level at the position for multiple years, right? And has a whole career at Oklahoma. So he's a big favorite for me. And I have another one. I'll let you go, and I'll throw him in there as well. But Tyler Ruxer, for sure. I'm really, really excited to see this guy in spring ball, maybe as much as any of these freshmen.
Rux was going to be a pick of mine if you hadn't drafted him. I think we're both big Tyler Ruxer fans. Again, as a evaluation nerd, when Nagy said that they found Ruxer by skimming track times, I was giggling because that's just, I love it. I'm going to go ahead and get a really obvious pick out of the way, not only because I think people know how much of a fan I am of the player, but also who this player is. Bo Bentley. Really excited about getting the quarterback and the way that this worked out, and how, I was the first to write about his want of the Oklahoma offer and getting to know Bo. Our network at 24/7, our scouting team bet on Bo Bentley. That bet paid off. I've gotten to know Bo for a while, and I'm just a big fan of the guy. So don't have to talk too much. We used to do the class MVPs as the superlatives. Hopefully everyone knows that Jake Kroll and Bo Bentley are the
MVP. Yeah. We skipped it because it's so obvious. Yeah.
To take Bo Bentley, who's like my personal favorite, maybe Hatton in there, is like Hatton, Bo would be two. The other guy I really want to talk about quickly is Dane Bathurst.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is someone for me that I'm very excited about, and I just want to see how he works out because this is a son of a former Navy SEAL who both parents were swimmers in college. His sister is a swimmer as well. I believe both dad and his sister won some sort of conference championship at a swim meet. Dane has played linebacker and edge, and he, from being the son of a Navy SEAL to the background he has to who the player is or can be, Dane Bathurst for me is just someone I'm personally very excited to watch develop at a place like Oklahoma.
No doubt. That's a great call. The other one for me that I almost said from the one, just because Oklahoma, I'm an Oklahoma kid, the one Oklahoma kid, Xavier Okfuleze. I got to see him play in the state championship game. I got to talk to him a little bit afterwards. First time I talked to him, great personality. I think he's a kid that OU fans are going to really like when he gets here. He's not here right now because he's playing basketball at Rejoice, which is up in my hometown of Owasso, not my school, but my hometown. And yeah, just a fun kid, fun player to watch. Like I said, big personality. That state championship game that I was working for the NFHS network, he had a sick touchdown catch. He had a sick interception on the defensive side. He's tall and rangy, and just he's a guy that probably needs a little bit of time. He hasn't played that much football. We talked about that when he committed. Like, he only has played a couple of years. Just give him a little bit of time. He's the only Oklahoma kid in the class, so it's like I want to give him some shine as an Oklahoma guy myself. And so, yeah, definitely a personal favorite. And I'll be pulling for him. Obviously, we want all these guys to pan out, but he's one that definitely I'll be pulling for. Hopefully, it can work out for him, and he can be a big time player at OU here down the road for sure.
I'm right there with you.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, I'm right there with you, and we've got one more to go. And so let's get to it. I've got the first pick for this one. And
yeah, we haven't done this one before. This one's new, wild card. This one, just kind of like we said, like a little bit of a we want to learn more about. Like we don't, not that we don't know much about him, but it's just kind of, it's a wild card. Like, he could be awesome. We just, time will tell, I guess, for lack of a better way to put that. Where are you at for this? Well, you could take this in really any number of directions.
Yeah, we've done a similar topic to this in the past, and like for the transfers a couple of years ago, I talked about how Michael Tarquin had bounced around and lost his jobs, and then got to Oklahoma, and this was a guy that I picked for this type of topic, and obviously you see how it went. I mean, this is essentially someone that we have questions about. We're looking forward to be answered now at a place like Oklahoma, and for me, the resounding answer is a guy that I've been asked about repeatedly on the board, by the way, for the last couple of weeks. James Carrington, defensive lineman.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking too. Yeah.
So James Carrington is going to be a really interesting case study. This is someone who surged out of the gate at the high school level, garnered Power 4 interest from all over the country, became a highly regarded recruit right out of the gate, highly ranked, all that good stuff. And then has gone on a long and winding road full of change ever since that. He has transferred high schools multiple occasions, so already kind of a multi-time transfer at the prep level, has some injuries that he has dealt with in the past, had a total body recomposition. At one point went from like 270 to 280 pounds down to like 240-ish at one point. I mean, just so much stuff has happened for James Carrington over the last few years. And Oklahoma went ahead and took him and said, we believe in this player. I know Oklahoma believes him to be a really strong fit for the defense and how this system wants to operate with its defensive tackles. Nagy talked about it on the signing day presser. They want athletic interior defensive linemen who can play in those defensive line games, the stunts, twists, the TTs, all that good stuff. Carrington can absolutely do that if it all comes together for him. He's gone through a lot over the last few years, but no one, I believe, is better equipped to get the most out of this player than Todd Bates in Oklahoma. Carrington, for me, I'm going to be on the edge of my seat to see if the Sooners can kind of get James Carrington back to being the prospect he was thought of originally as a younger player at the prep level.
Yeah, no, that was what I was thinking too. Just such a winding road for him.
Yeah.
Obviously Florida State decommit comes over and just,
Yeah.
whenever Oklahoma kind of ended up getting him, and it was, yeah, I mean, he's like the definition of this. Like the potential is obvious, very high for him to maybe be, a star level guy for Todd Bates and that defensive line group. So I'm with you. That's where I was thinking. So I'll pivot. I'm going to cheat, and I'm not going to apologize for cheating. So I'm going to go two for with the Jandro brothers. I'm just going to go with both of them.
Yeah.
2-for-1 here. These are two guys that of the guys who signed, right? They're right at the bottom in terms of ranking. But we know because we talked about it, and Brent Venables loves these guys. They're both football players. They're kind of nutcases in a good way. Like they are the type of guys that willing to sacrifice their bodies. That's the type of guy. These are football guys, both of them. And we've heard great things early. They just seem like great culture fits with this program. The opportunity for these guys to be stars is obvious. I mean, it's twin brothers playing defense at OU. Bo and Nico Jandro. Like there's so much potential here if they can just kind of live up to it. And that they're certainly going to put the work in to try and get there. So I'm excited to see both these guys. It's just, they're a pair of dudes who I feel like I want to learn more about as we get to see them actually play, because it feels like there's definitely a world where they're really good and they're really fun at OU, and they become fan favorites pretty quick. So definitely a couple of wild cards for me. And again, it's a little bit cheat to say both of them, but I'm going to do it anyway. Both Jandro brothers, Bo and Nico. Excited to see them both here coming up in spring ball here in the next month and a half.
No, to back you up, the Jandros, first of all, how much bigger can those guys get?
I know.
They're already kind of –
they're ripped. Yeah.
Yoked up. And I had someone ask me, like, hey, is there much more physical growth to be done with those two, considering they already kind of live in the gym? I think that's a fair question. What are the physical limitations? And then on top of that, Nico and Bo had some stuff come up, injuries and things of that nature, that forced them to kind of sit out a portion of their senior seasons, if I remember correctly. And so, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, they're going to be settled. They're going to be rolling in a college strength and nutrition program, and Oklahoma thinks highly of both of them. What do they turn out to be? I'm very curious to see what it looks like for them. I guess I will provide a quick honorable mention on my end. I think I'm very interested to see what Christian Moore becomes.
Yeah, he's a good one. Yeah.
Scouting team bet on this guy, and only Power 4 offer for Christian was Oklahoma. What does he become? I'm excited to see what that bet, that payout looks like for them. Did you have anybody that you wanted to mention on the way out here?
Yeah, one bonus one. We've seen what the power of a good kicker can do. Trace Rudd. Woo! I want to throw him in there. Brent Venables kind of jokingly said it a little bit in the signing press conference. Like Trace Rudd shares a lot of personality similarities with Tate Sandell. Very confident. He's obviously very active on social media. He's very good. And yeah, I mean, this guy that we saw it this year, what having a next level kicker can do. Tate Sandell obviously is back this year. So that's, I think, really cool for Trace that he gets to be around Tate for a full season. I think that's going to be good for him. But yeah, this is a guy that, look, we don't get that many scholarship kickers. He's a scholarship kicker. Oklahoma clearly believes in him. You've seen the videos. He can boot it. And again, he's been compared personality-wise to Tate Sandell, which is he's become a star basically at Oklahoma as a kicker. It's fun. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. And man, kickers, generally speaking, don't really leave school early. So if Tate, obviously after this year, if Trey steps in, you might have a really good kicker for 3-4 years. I mean, that would be huge. That'd be huge. So yeah, we sometimes overlook the kicker for just naturally, it's a human nature to do so. We saw this year what having a big time kicker can do, and if Trace Rudd could be that, that'd be awesome. That'd be great for you for several years. So
I'm a big fan of Trace Rudd, man.
Yeah,
we don't have to rehash this. This is one of my guys, and the Rudd family is a Sooners Illustrated podcast viewer or listener. So
love it.
Shout out the Rudds and pulling for Trace, man.
Well, there you have it. Our signing class superlatives. Always fun. Excited to see, again, pretty much all these guys with just a couple exceptions are going to be here or are here right now. And we'll be here for spring ball, which is always fun. Obviously, it's fun to see the returning guys and just the team in general, the portal, but the true freshmen, because there's always a couple that stand out as like, oh, that looks a little different as a true freshman. So excited to see pretty much all these guys, though, in pads, in uniform here coming up in, what are we? I don't know, 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks from spring ball. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Getting there. We're getting there.
You got through the show today. Good job.
I powered through. I don't think I ever coughed unmuted. I think I always caught the mute, I think. If I didn't, apologies. Anyone listening to their headphones or in their car, I think I always got the mute button pressed. I think that's it for now. We'll be back, obviously, Tom and I on Monday. We'll do more basketball talk. It's rough. Losing streak extended to 9 last night. They did get great news with the new arena, though. So we'll talk about that. Softball opening weekend, baseball opening weekend coming up. So we got some other sports to get into that are a little happier right now that we'll definitely dive into on Monday. And then Collin will be back next week, next Thursday. Hit the latest on the recruiting side. And who knows, maybe by then we'll have a new cornerbacks coach to talk about as well. We'll obviously keep you posted there as we learn more about Oklahoma filling the spot vacated by Jay Valai. But that's it for now. Collin, appreciate you as always. Always a fun show. Be back next Monday with Tom and back with Collin next Thursday. That's it. For Collin Kenny, I'm Josh Callaway. We'll see you next time right back here, as always, on Sooners Illustrated.